The tales of Hyrule speak of a legend known as the Ancient Hero, who led the charge against the Calamity Ganon alongside the princess and the ancient champions. The identity of this hero was heavily discussed inside and outside the story of Breath of the Wild, but was drawn to the conclusion of being a Link of his time that fulfilled his destiny in protecting Hyrule from evil. However, with the advent of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and the revelations behind the Calamity's origin point, the Demon King Ganondorf, as well as the truth behind Hyrule's founding and connection to the Zonai, many factors have come into question on the basis of Breath of the Wild's and Tears of the Kingdom's place in the Zelda timeline, and challenged everything we knew about the legend. But the reveal of the identity of the ancient hero is now clear, and how everything connects hangs in the balance. This is the truth behind the ancient hero and how he connects the stories of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom to the grander Legend of Zelda. There are many truths that come to light within the stories and events of Tears of the Kingdom that heavily suggest that the game and its predecessor take place in a new continuity outside of that of the unified timeline along with its split. But thanks to the Zonai and the ancient hero, with these connections we can pinpoint where and how this timeline began. After completing all 152 Shrines of Light in Tears of the Kingdom, Link is rewarded with the Ancient Hero's aspect, an item said to contain the spirit of a hero that once saved Hyrule, with that hero's aura enveloping those who wears it. And once wearing the aspect, you are then transformed in what is initially believed to be an unknown figure, but someone who is definitely of Zonai origin. But upon closer recollection, this persona is indeed that of the ancient hero that is described and portrayed within the events 10,000 years before that of Breath of the Wild, the time of the original Calamity. This is that hero. He was a Zonai who worked alongside those of Hyrule and its princess to strike down the Calamity, wielding the sword that seals the darkness, the Master Sword. But if this is that hero wielding the sword, wouldn't that make him a Link? And Link was indeed a Zonai? How can that be possible? Was the legend completely rewritten in a separate continuity? Does Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom take place in their own universe completely? Well, here is the grand revelation. Tears of the Kingdom, along with Breath of the Wild, are indeed connected to one other Zelda game, the game that predates all other games. That is right, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Despite taking place in another continuity, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom still take place after Skyward Sword, the beginning of the Zelda timeline, but in a way that was buried and forgotten. A theory I crafted years ago. These games take place in another timeline created in the climax of Skyward Sword and explains everything. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom take place in a timeline created when Link went to the past to save Zelda from Girahim and defeat a resurrected Demise after destroying the imprisoned of his own time with the power of the Triforce. As this breaks the continuity established in Skyward Sword that eventually continues into the unified timeline, the past where Demise was destroyed continued on and led into the events that would shape Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where in this reality, without the Triforce due to it still being hidden, Hyrule was founded through the union of Hylians and the Zonai who descended upon the world from the heavens, being offspring of gods, carrying the secret stones. In this continuity, the Sage of Light, Rauru, was indeed a Zonai and established the Kingdom of Hyrule with his Hylian wife, Sonia, a descendant of Hylia, and in turn, Zelda. This would lead to the imprisoning war of this reality against the Demon King Ganondorf, the reincarnation of Demise. But in this war, despite being waged against the very essence that would call the Master Sword and its hero into battle, a hero did not appear. And the hero that did appear eons after, during the original Calamity, was that of an unfamiliar Zonai that was able to wield the Master Sword. This is because of the Skyward Sword timeline break. Link went into the past with the true Master Sword in order to defeat Demise, seal away his essence, thus gaining the name of this continuity of the sword that seals the darkness, and the sword was left behind in that past by Link. While the Master Sword is truly that of a constant, as shown in the timeline split of the unified timeline, it was able to make it to the familiar future shown at the end of Skyward Sword, but the sword in the past was left without a wielder, repeating the scenario of the Downfall timeline, which contained the original war. The Imprisoning War was named thereafter. This is why a hero did not rise up against Ganondorf during the new Imprisoning War, and why Rauru never heard of the name Link despite being the first king of Hyrule, as the Link from Skyward Sword only existed in that time for a fleeting moment before changing history forever. However, the tale of the legendary Master Sword persisted, although there was no one to claim it. That is until the time of the Calamity, the original Calamity, where a hero had to rise, or should I say, descend, to take the place of the lost hero, and this is where the ancient hero comes into play. A Zonai descended to claim the Master Sword and to be the hero the Hyrule needed against the impending calamity. This is the origin of the ancient hero, an aspect that mirrors the situations that plagued the adult and downfall timelines within the original reality, where Link was not in existence and a hero had to rise. And that although they don't share a blood connection, the spirit of the hero can be cultivated within those chosen by destiny and are prepared to become a hero. So this hero, the ancient hero, a Zonai hero, went through hardships and trials in order to prove himself to claim the Master Sword in order to fight back the calamity. What is more is that this hero could have even been beckoned by the Zonai themselves due to the existence of Zelda's stories when she went to the past and told Rauru and Sonia about Link, all the way to the point where Rauru relied on the existence of Link and the Master Sword to defeat Ganondorf in the future, thereby planting the seeds of hope so that a hero would rise when Hyrule would need him most. Going further into this ancient Zonai hero, with him existing 10,000 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, this hero could have integrated into Hyrulean society and start a family, a bloodline, with a Hyrulean woman, just as Rauru had done in the events of the distant past shown in Tears of the Kingdom, which would lead to siring the Link of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which would confirm him having traces of Zonai blood and heritage, which would also explain why Link was compatible with all of the Zonai technology, ruins, and at its origin compatible with Rauru's arm in the first place. With the courage of the Zonai running through his veins and fulfilling the promise to the sword once again, Link was able to wield the blade against both the Calamity and the Demon King as his Zonai ancestor did as the ancient hero and as Rauru did as the first king, in a timeline created anew from the beginning as it did for the original timeline. But what does that mean for all of the events spoken in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? Well, that is for the advent of the next chapter of this series of theories.